Hello everyone, how are you feeling today? It's Eros everyone here, and today I'm coming at you with my Cyber Dragon deck profile. Now this is a really fun deck. Right now is actually really a strong deck after kind of like the hard reset of the meta. Because we don't really have Rising Rampage yet, and I do think that the archetypes right now from Rising Rampage are kind of not really defined yet until we're going to get to Chaos Impact, which is like in 3 months from now. So it's still like not absolutely powerful, but a deck that I think I would recommend to people to pick up. It's Cyber Dragon. It's really fun. I wouldn't say the most cheap because there are 2 or 3 cards here that are unfortunately like a little bit high price, and if you haven't picked those up, it's kind of a problem. I mean, there is one card, one or two of those cards are going to get reprinted, or should I say even 3 of them, but like there is 1 or 2 additional cards that are a little bit pricey, which one of them is the main search spell of the deck. But without further ado, let's jump right into this deck, and I'm going to teach you guys how to cyber bully your opponent with this deck. I'm so terrible. Anyway, to start things off, you want to run 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon is just pretty much your core card. I don't think there's more to explain about this card. It's a card that almost gets reprinted in every starter deck, which is absolutely insane, by the way. We didn't really get one this year, but whatever. So 3 Cyber Dragon is pretty much a must-have in every Cyber Dragon deck. It's pretty much your core card. Moving on, you run 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. Core is one of the other core pieces of the deck, and probably the best normal summon of the deck. This card is really nice because it has a really nice normal summon of like searching the cyber spell or traps from your deck to your hand when you normal summon it. So it's a really big Ash Blossom target. But you can technically like block Ash with another Cyber Dragon, which we'll get into it. And another thing is like this guy is also kind of nice. Like if you don't have Cyber Dragon of like and he is in the graveyard, you pretty much can banish this card from the graveyard to special summon Cyber Dragon. A Cyber Dragon monster from your deck. So it doesn't have to be Cyber Dragon himself. It can be a Cyber Dragon monster, which is actually really cool and really nice. And the other other thing is like every single one of the main deck Cyber Dragon share that is not the original is that they count as Cyber Dragon while in the field or in graveyard, which is actually very important. So this card is pretty much the core of the deck, and also it's a machine dupe target, so that's also a really cool thing, because it's let you summon 2 copies of the original Cyber Dragon from your deck, which is really nice. Moving on to one of the most debatable cards if you want to run a 3, 2, or even 1, but I think like this card is actually pretty awesome and you want to run it at 3. It's 3 copies of Hertz, because Hertz is pretty much you discard it and you add either Cyber Dragon himself from your deck or Cyber Dragon from your grave to your hand, which has to be Cyber Dragon, like not Cyber Dragon monster, Cyber Dragon. So that's means like from your deck you can only search the original, and from your grave you can add any of the main deck ones, just to let you guys know. The other effect is pretty much when this card is special summon, you get to raise this card level to 5, but you cannot special summon monsters except machines for the rest of the turn, which is most of the time doesn't really matter, so it's still kind of nice. And it's also once again a machine dupe target, so you want to run 3 of this. It's probably the worst one of the trio right now, but it's still pretty good, and it's probably one of the more expensive cards in the deck, but it is going to get reprinted pretty soon, so don't worry about that. Moving forward, you want to run 3 copies of the new one, which is Cyber Dragon Naster, or should I say Cyber Dragon Next. This is pretty much how it's pronounced. Naster is probably one of the most amazing additions to the deck, and it's probably one of my favorite ones by design. This card is when you can special summon this card by sending a monster from your hand, so that's really cool. So, not send, but discarding a card, it's actually have a big difference. So, like, send is pretty much the cost, I believe, and like discard is a cost. It's a weird thing, but like it's discard. It's actually kind of matter, at least for shadows, if you want to know about those. And anyway, when this card is no more special summon, you can target a machine monster with 2100 attack or defense in your graveyard and special summon it, but you cannot special summon monster for the rest of the turn except machine monsters. So this one is really, really cool. It's another, again, machine dupe target. It's a level 1, which is really, really nice as well. Open up things with 1-for-1. And the last thing, it just pretty much free special summon from the graveyard. So that's really, really strong. You can even like revive an Infinity or other core Cyber Dragon or machine monster that you want. And then lastly, for the one-off Cyber Dragon, sometimes it's the most debatable Cyber Dragon to run. There's some people who don't run him at all. It's one copy of Cyber Dragon Vare. Vare is really, really nice because it's an Ash Blossom chain block, because you can just pretty much special summon this when you normal special summon a Cyber Dragon. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is that he boosts all of your Cyber Dragons by 500. So that's really, really powerful. And it's kind of letting you OTK really easily. So, you know, it's just really, really nice. And that's it for the Cyber Dragon names. Now we'll move on to the honorary Cyber Dragon. 3 copies of Galaxy Soldier. I've seen some people run the 2. I still maybe agree that you want to run this card at 2, but for the time being, I don't really know what to run instead. There is another card that I'm actually considering to maybe cut this and it, because I run it just for fun, and then just run like 2 Ghost Ogres or something like that in the main deck. But like for the time being, it's actually Galaxy Soldier is really nice, because like if you open up 2 of these, you can send one of them to the grave to search the third one, and that's not the worst thing in the world. And sometimes you actually want to see this card, but I do understand people who say 3 copies of this is a little bit too much. But like I said, I'm not 100% sure about this. For the time being, it's actually served me quite nicely. Then searchable out, you have 1 Jizukiru, pretty simple. And now we'll move on to the hand trap. So first off, the more normal hand trap to run in every single deck, free Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Pretty awesome hand trap. I don't think I need to explain this one. Then 3 copies of Effect Veiler, which actually have a lot of synergy with the deck, especially with Galaxy Soldier, because it's light, so it's actually kind of cool. And it's also a monster, so it actually also work with Naster discard ability, and because I don't have impermanence, so you know, I run this card and it's still really, really awesome. Of course, if you have impermanence, you can run like both impermanence and this, but I would recommend maybe if you want to choose one of the 2, is probably impermanence, because impermanence is not susceptible to cold by the grave, so that's actually kind of nice in that regard as well. Does it for the monsters. Now I'll move on to the spells. So first off, for the money card in the deck, I kind of got it for like, I'll say like 20, if not 15% of what it was, what it is today. It's 3 copies of Cyber Emergency, really, really powerful card. You search a Cyber Dragon or a Cyber or a light machines that cannot be normal summoned or set. So pretty much Eltonin, even though we don't run it in the main deck. And then you pretty much also have the ability to, like, if this card get negated, to kind of like send another card from the graveyard to discard a card to the graveyard, and then pretty much add this back to your hand. So that's really, really powerful effect, and it's a really, really strong card. I'm hoping this card will get reprinted for anybody who want to play this with this, but unfortunately this is like a $30 card right now, which is absolutely insane. I'm actually kind of shocked that I was able to get it like in 4 a piece or something like that. Moving on, the second searcher of the deck, 2 copies of Cyber Repair Plant. It's less better from Cyber Emergency, because the problem with this card is like you need to set up your graveyard with a Cyber Dragon in it. It also have the other effect, which you almost never use, which is target a light machine monster in your graveyard and shuffle it into your deck. Sometimes I'm using it on Cyber Dragon himself if I have 2 machine dupes and my opponent didn't stop the first one and just want 2 monsters additionally on the field instead of just the 1. But most of the time you want to use it for search. And then if you have 3 Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, you can pretty much get both effects in a sequence. So you can get a search for a light machine and get to shuffle a light machine back. So that's actually not that bad. Then for the last 2 cyber spells, I run one Cyber River system, which is a revival for Cyber Dragon, only Cyber Dragon, not Cyber Dragon Monster, it's just Cyber Dragon, so it can only revive your main deck Cyber Dragons, and I believe Zeger. And then one copy of Cyberload Fusion, because it's a really good searchable cyber card. A very, very powerful, like banishing cards from your graveyard to then special summon, banishing, but like shuffling back resources into the deck. And then also special summoning a fusion on top of it is actually really, really nice. Then the other cards that work with it, Overload Fusion. Overload Fusion is pretty much the one that set that up the best. I use that to pretty much summon your, what her name is, the level 5 Rampage, yeah, the Chimeric Rampage, I forgot the name for a second. You use this to summon Rampage, you pop some cards, and then you pretty much use the Reva system to bring that back. And then the last card, which I said, like, I want a card for the fusion cards, which I want to cut with one of the Galaxy Soldiers, and I want to run it for fun. I do run one Power Bond. Like I said, it's more of a fun card to run here. It's not really practical. I'm just running here, because it's Power Bond and it's fun, and sometimes it actually can bring you to OTK, so I felt to myself, like, it will be kind of fun. Then 3 copies of Machine Duplication. Free Machine Duplication is just, it's not even need any explanation. It just, you have 9 targets, and then you can just pretty much special summon 2 Cyber Dragons. Really powerful. One-offs are 1-for-1, Foolish Burial, and Monster Reborn, at least for the spells. Foolish Burial, you know what it does. It's really helpful by sending your either sometimes Cyber Dragon Core, or even your Hertz to then get a search. 1-for-1 is just really good with your 6 targets, and Monster Reborn is just Monster Reborn. And then for the traps, I only run one because I don't have hand traps that are traps, but I do run the one trap, which is Cybernetic Overflow. Really, really strong card. If it gets destroyed when it's set, you get to search a cyber spell or trap other than itself to your hand. I think actually, maybe it actually can search itself. Yeah, I think it actually can search its other copy of itself, but you only run the one here. And then you pretty much, the main effect is like you banish Cyber Dragon monsters with different levels from your hand, face up, or your field, or graveyard, and then you can pop cards. So you pretty much have 4 different ones, which are level 1, 2, 4, and 5. So you can pop up to 5 cards to your opponent during their turn or whatever, so I feel like this card is actually kind of nice. That does it for the main deck. Now I'll move on to the side decks first. So first off, I'm sorry in advance for different sleeves, but these cards are in different decks, and I kind of like don't really want to, just change sleeves every single second, because we're not going with this to locals right now, and it's not a local, profile or something, so I feel like it's kind of like unnecessary to move them from sleeves. So first off, 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. It's really good in this format. I don't think I need to explain why. 2 Pranky Boy. I like Pranky Boy really, really much. It's just a nice 2600 beat stick. And it actually doesn't really clash with Cyber Dragon that much. Because he can pretty much get himself off the field. Now I only run 2 because I have another card that I like to use for removing spell and traps, but sometimes I actually consider maybe bumping this card up to 3. Then 2 Ghost Ogre, another card I am considering maybe bumping up to 3 instead of something else, because it's really deals with the Guard Dragon combo, at least getting rid of one of their quarter pieces cards, but I'm not 100% sure about that, because for the time being 2 is actually really, really good for me. For the spells, 2 Free Called by the Grave, really, really nice if you're going second, and if you're forced to go second, or just generally, like, sometimes I like to main this because it's actually a nice card to deal with Orchest as well. It's actually kind of cool. 2 Twin Twisters. Again, another card I consider bumping up to 3 is like, it's either Pancratops, Ogre, or this, like 2 of the 3s that I'm consider maybe bumping up to 3, or maybe cutting down completely the next card and bumping all the 3 of them. But 2 Twin Twisters, once again, works for me quite nicely. And then the last one, which I'm kind of like, debating, and that's why I'm like saying maybe I will cut this down completely and just add 1 for each of the others, is 3 Red Reboot, because it's just really nice to deal with annoying control traps decks, which do exist sometimes here and there. So that's it for the side. Now I'll move on to the extra deck. Extra deck, we'll start off with the Xyz. Really simple. 2 of the Nova, 2 of the Infinity, no explanation there. And then I also like still to run the 1 Consider Polides. There are some people who think this card is not the best. I could understand with them, but I actually I really like this card, so I decided to still keep running it in my extra deck. Links is 1 Linkaribo, 1 Klee for Genius, 1 Seeger, and then this is a card that like I maybe consider to maybe cut for Almirage, but I don't really have Almirage yet, but I still think it's really, really nice. 1 copy of Platinum Gadget. It's just really cool. You don't really go upper than a Link 2 to anything else, and just a free special summon from your hands, it could be more useful than a Genius or a Seeger, so I felt like, you know, this is actually kind of nice, and like most of the time, like these 4 Link monsters are more than you need. So, you know, just having these 4 is actually kind of nice. Fusions, 2 Mega Fleet, 1 Fortress. Sometimes I want a second, but like in my locals, it's not the most important thing, or at least in the place that I'm playing with. Like 1 and 2 is more than enough, at least with the people I'm playing with. 2 copies of Rampage, because in my place it's a little bit more of heavy in, you know, back row, but you could cut down one of the Overload Fusion and add a second one of this, and then just put something else with the additional instead of the Overload Fusion. Just, it's all up to personal preference, but for me it really works to have 2 Rampage. And then the last card in the extra deck, which is a card that like I feel is really, really powerful, especially with the Power Bond sometimes, and with your opponent sometimes deciding to destroy to you the Nova if they don't really understand and think like you don't have space in the extra deck. I really like to run Cyber Twin Dragon because it just, you spit this out and it's kind of like punishing them really badly, and just generally like Cyber Load Fusion summon this really, really badly. It's a really good card for OTK, and like I said, if you have the Power Bone in your hand, it's just a guaranteed OTK, so that's really, really nice in that regard as well. So that's that. And that's pretty much does it for the extra deck and does it for the deck profile. So yeah, that's a pretty nice deck profile. I'm hoping you guys enjoy it. It's pretty standard Cyber Dragon. There are some things that I like to run different than others, but I feel like this is a standard deck profile for Cyber Dragons. It's a very, very fun deck. And just a really, if you have the cards, it's really, really strong deck to bring out to locals, or just even like in competitive play, it's actually really, really strong. But anyway, see you guys next time. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, guys. Stay safe, and see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.